The night was cold and quiet. Pushed his mop bucket through the long marble hallway of financial headquarters. The wheels made a soft squeaking sound that echoed off the tall walls. It was almost 9 o'clock at night, and most of the employees had gone home hours ago. Liked it this way. The silence was peaceful. No one to bother him. No one to look at him like he was nothing. Was 38 years old. He had tired eyes and hands that were rough from years of hard work. His gray janitor uniform was clean but old. The name tag on his chest said, in faded letters. He had been working as the night janitor at this company for 3 years now. 3 years of mopping floors, emptying trash cans, and cleaning bathrooms. 3 years of being invisible. Tonight was different, though. Tonight the building was full of life and noise. The company was hosting a big party. A gala, they called it. Rich people in expensive suits and beautiful dresses walked through the lobby. Waiters carried trays of champagne and fancy food. Everything sparkled under the bright lights. Tried to stay out of the way. He kept to the back hallways, cleaning the areas where no guests would go. But his supervisor had given him strict orders. The main lobby needed to be spotless before the big reveal. Apparently, the company had bought something very special, something worth $300,000. A piano. Had heard the other workers talking about it for weeks. A grand piano, the finest piano money could buy. The CEO, Victoria, had purchased it as a showpiece for the lobby. She wanted everyone to see how successful and cultured her company was. Tonight, a famous pianist was supposed to play it for all the important guests. Finished mopping the back hallway and slowly made his way toward the lobby. He needed to empty the trash cans near the entrance. As he walked, he could hear the sound of people laughing and glasses clinking. The smell of expensive perfume filled the air. And then he saw it. The piano sat in the center of the lobby like a king on a throne. It was beautiful. The black wood shone like a mirror. The keys were perfect white and black, waiting to be touched. Stopped walking. His mop handle slipped a little in his hands. He could not take his eyes off the piano. Something stirred inside him, something old and painful. A memory he had buried deep in his heart. His fingers tingled. For a moment he forgot where he was. He forgot who he was. All he could see was the piano. He took a step closer. Then another. The noise of the party seemed to fade away, reached out his hand. His fingers were just inches from the keys. "What do you think you are doing?" The voice cut through the air like a knife, jumped back. His heart pounded in his chest. He turned around and saw a woman standing behind him. She was tall and thin, with silver hair pulled back tight. Her dress was red and expensive. Diamonds sparkled around her neck. Her eyes were cold and sharp. Victoria, the CEO, had seen her many times before, but she had never spoken to him. She had never even looked at him. To her, he was just part of the furniture, just another thing in the building that needed to be there but did not matter. "I asked you a question," Victoria said. Her voice was like ice. "What are you doing near my piano?" Opened his mouth, but no words came out. He felt his face grow hot with shame. Other guests had stopped talking. They were all looking at him now, looking at the janitor who had dared to approach the precious piano. I was just," stammered. "I was just looking, ma'am. I am sorry." Victoria stepped closer. Her high heels clicked on the marble floor. She looked at like he was dirt on her shoe. "Just looking," she repeated. "This piano costs more than you will make in 10 lifetimes. Do you have any idea how valuable it is? Do you have any idea what kind of craftsmanship went into making it?" "Yes, ma'am," said quietly. "I know it is a Model D concert grand." Victoria raised an eyebrow. She seemed surprised that he knew this, but then her face hardened again. "So you know what it is," she said. "Then you should know better than to put your dirty hands anywhere near it. This is not some toy at a shopping mall. This is a work of art. It is meant to be played by real musicians, not touched by janitors who mop floors for a living." The words hit like punches. He felt something break inside him, but he did not show it. He kept his face calm and his eyes down. "I understand, ma'am," he said. "I am very sorry. It will not happen again." "It better not," Victoria said. She waved her hand like she was shooing away a fly. "Now get back to work and stay away from this area. I do not want the guests to see this." She gestured at his uniform, at his mop and bucket, at everything he was. Nodded and turned to walk away. As he did, he heard laughter behind him. Some of the guests were whispering and pointing. A young man in an expensive suit said something to his friends. They all laughed louder. "Maybe he wanted to play Twinkle Twinkle Little Star," the young man said. "That is probably all someone like him would know." More laughter. Kept walking. He did not look back. His hands gripped the mop handle so tight that his knuckles turned white. His heart was beating fast, but not from fear, from something else, something he had not felt in a very long time. He reached the back hallway and stopped. He leaned against the wall and closed his eyes. The laughter still echoed in his ears. The cruel words still stung. But underneath all that pain there was something else. A memory, a feeling. Looked down at his hands. These hands that everyone thought were only good for mopping floors. These hands that had once done something very different, something beautiful. He remembered a time when those same hands had danced across piano keys in front of hundreds of people. A time when crowds had stood and cheered for him. A time when music had been his whole life. But that was a long time ago. That was before everything fell apart. Before he lost the one person who mattered most. Before he buried his heart along with his dreams. Took a deep breath. He pushed the memories back down. He could not think about that now. He had a job to do. He had a daughter to feed. He had a life to survive. He picked up his mop and went back to work. But as he cleaned the floors that night, his mind kept wandering back to the piano, to the way it had looked under the lights, to the way his fingers had ached to touch the keys, to the way Victoria had looked at him like he was nothing. She did not know. None of them knew. They saw a janitor, a nobody, a man with a mop and a bucket. They did not see the truth. And maybe that was for the best. Some secrets were better left buried. Some doors were better left closed. Finished his shift at 2 in the morning. He changed out of his uniform, walked to the bus stop and rode home through the empty streets. When he got to his small apartment, he quietly opened the door and checked on his daughter. She was sleeping peacefully in her room, her dark hair spread across the pillow. He watched her for a moment. She was 13 now, growing up so fast. She looked so much like her mother. Felt a tear roll down his cheek. He wiped it away quickly. "I am doing this for you," he whispered. "Everything I do is for you." He closed her door softly and went to his own room. But he did not sleep for a long time. He lay in the dark, staring at the ceiling, thinking about pianos and painful memories and the life he used to have. The life he had given up. The life he thought was gone forever. 8 years ago was a different man. He wore fine suits instead of janitor uniforms. He walked into concert halls instead of office buildings. People knew his name. People cheered when he played. He was not invisible. He was a star. Had started playing piano when he was just 5 years old. His mother had saved money for months to buy an old used piano from a church sale. It was broken and out of tune, but to Young, it was the most beautiful thing in the world. He taught himself to play by listening to songs on the radio and copying them. By the time he was 10, he could play anything he heard. His teachers noticed his gift. They said he had something special, something rare. His fingers moved across the keys like they were born to be there. The music flowed out of him like water from a river. It was natural. It was easy. It was everything. Got a scholarship to study at a famous music school. He worked hard every day. He practiced for hours until his fingers hurt. He learned from the best teachers in the country. And slowly, he became one of the best young pianists anyone had ever seen. By the time he was 25, was performing in concert halls all over the world. Critics called him a genius. Audiences loved him. He had money, fame, and a future brighter than he had ever dreamed. But the best thing in his life was not the music. It was. He met her at the music school. She was a pianist too. She had long dark hair and a smile that could light up any room. When she played, forgot to breathe. Her music was different from his. His was powerful and strong. Hers was soft and beautiful. Together, they were perfect. They fell in love quickly. They would practice together for hours, playing duets that made their teachers cry. They understood each other without words. When was sad, would play something gentle to comfort him. When was stressed, would make her laugh with silly songs. They were two halves of the same heart. They got married on a sunny day in spring. The wedding was small and simple. They did not need fancy things. They only needed each other. After the wedding, they performed a duet for their guests. It was the happiest day of his life. 2 years later, their daughter was born. They named her Lily after his favorite flower. She was a tiny baby with big eyes and a loud cry, held her in his arms and made a promise. He would give her the best life possible. He would teach her to love music. He would be the best father in the world. For a few years, everything was perfect. Continued to perform, but he was more careful about his schedule. He did not want to be away from his family for too long. Started teaching piano lessons at a local music academy. She loved working with children. She had a gift for making them feel confident and happy. Lily grew up surrounded by music. She took her first steps while her parents played a duet in the living room. Her first word was song. She would sit on his lap while he practiced, watching his fingers move with wide, curious eyes. Sometimes she would press the keys herself, making random notes that she thought were beautiful. And dreamed about the future. They talked about the day Lily would be old enough to play real songs. They imagined performing together as a family. They planned to travel the world and show Lily all the beautiful places they had been. They had so many dreams. But life does not always follow our plans. It happened on a cold night in December. Lily was 5 years old, had gone to the store to buy groceries. It was supposed to be a quick trip. She kissed goodbye and promised to be back in an hour. She never came home. A drunk driver ran a red light. He hit his car on the driver's side. The doctors said she died instantly. She did not suffer, but that did not make it easier. Nothing could make it easier. Got the phone call at home. He was playing a lullaby for Lily when the phone rang. When he heard the news, he dropped the phone. He could not speak. He could not breathe. He could not think. The world stopped making sense. The next few weeks were a blur of tears and darkness. Had to tell Lily that Mommy was not coming back. He had to watch his little girl cry and ask questions he could not answer. He had to bury the love of his life in the cold, hard ground. After the funeral, tried to keep going. He tried to play the piano, but every time he touched the keys, he heard his voice. He saw her sitting next to him, smiling, playing their favorite songs. The memories were too painful. The music that had once brought him joy now only brought him sorrow. One night sat down at the piano to practice for an upcoming concert. He placed his fingers on the keys, but he could not play. His hands were shaking. Tears were falling down his face. He saw everywhere, in every note, in every chord, in every silence. He stood up and closed the piano lid. He never opened it again. Canceled all his concerts. He stopped returning phone calls. He disappeared from the music world completely. People wondered what happened to him. Newspapers wrote stories about his mysterious absence, but did not care. He could not care. He was broken. He sold their beautiful house. He sold the piano that he and had bought together. He sold almost everything they owned. He took Lily and moved to a small apartment on the other side of the city. He wanted to start over. He wanted to forget. But he still needed money. He still needed to take care of Lily. She was only 5 years old. She needed food, clothes, and a home. Looked for jobs, but he had no skills outside of music. He had spent his whole life playing piano. He did not know how to do anything else. Finally, he found a job as a janitor at a small office building. The pay was low, but it was enough. He worked at night so he could be home with Lily during the day. He learned to mop floors, clean windows, and empty trash cans. It was hard work, but it kept his mind busy. It kept him from thinking too much. Years passed, moved from one janitor job to another, always looking for better pay. 3 years ago, he got the job at Financial. The pay was the best he had ever had. The hours were late, but that was okay. Lily was older now. She could take care of herself in the evenings. Lily grew up fast. She was smart and kind, just like her mother. She did well in school. She made friends easily. She laughed often. But she knew something was wrong with her father. She could see the sadness in his eyes. She could feel the silence in their apartment. She had no memory of her mother. She was too young when died, had put away all the photos and memories. He did not talk about the past. He did not talk about music. To Lily, her father was just a janitor, a quiet man who worked hard and loved her very much. She did not know about the concerts. She did not know about the awards. She did not know that her father had once been one of the greatest pianists in the world. Wanted it that way. He thought it was better. He thought keeping the past buried would protect Lily from pain. He thought hiding his old life would help him forget. But some things cannot stay hidden forever. Some truths have a way of coming out, and sometimes the past catches up with us when we least expect it. Did not know it yet, but his secret was about to be discovered, and nothing would ever be the same again. Every night after Lily fell asleep, would sit alone in the dark living room. Sometimes, without thinking, his fingers would move in the air, playing invisible notes on invisible keys. The music was still inside him. It had never really left. It was just waiting for the right moment to come back. Lily was 13 years old, and she had a secret of her own. Every day after school, while her father slept before his night shift, Lily would sit in her small bedroom with an old keyboard. It was a cheap thing she had found at a yard sale 2 years ago. She had paid $20 for it with money she saved from her allowance. Half the keys did not work properly, and the sound was thin and weak. But to Lily, it was precious. She taught herself to play by watching videos on the internet. She would put on her headphones, find a tutorial, and practice the same song over and over until she got it right. Her fingers were clumsy at first. She made many mistakes, but slowly she got better. She learned simple songs, then harder ones. She learned to read music notes. She learned about chords and scales and rhythm. Lily did not know why she loved the piano so much. It just felt right. When she played, even on her broken little keyboard, something inside her came alive. The music made her happy. It made her feel like she was connected to something bigger than herself. She never told her father about the keyboard. She kept it hidden under her bed. She only played when he was sleeping or at work. She was afraid he would be angry. She was afraid he would think she was wasting time. She was afraid he would not understand. One morning in March, Lily's teacher made an announcement in class. "The school is having a talent show next month," the teacher said. "The grand prize is a full music scholarship to the Henderson Academy of Arts. This is a wonderful opportunity for any student who loves music. If you are interested, please sign up by the end of the week." Lily's heart jumped in her chest. A music scholarship, a real music school. This could change her whole life. She could learn from real teachers. She could play on real pianos. She could become a real musician. She had to enter. She had to try. That night, Lily waited for her father to come home from work. It was past 2 in the morning when he walked through the door. He looked tired as always. His shoulders were bent. His eyes were heavy. But he smiled when he saw her. "Lily, why are you still awake?" he asked. "You have school tomorrow." "I know, Dad," Lily said, "but I need to talk to you about something important." Sat down on the old couch and rubbed his eyes. "Okay, what is it?" Lily took a deep breath. "There is a talent show at school. The winner gets a music scholarship. I want to enter, I want to play piano. His face changed. The tired smile disappeared. His eyes became distant and cold. Lily saw something flash across his face. Pain, fear, something she did not understand. "Piano," he said slowly. "Since when do you play piano?" "I have been teaching myself," Lily said. "For 2 years now, I have a keyboard in my room. I watch videos online and practice. I am getting pretty good, Dad, but I need lessons. Real lessons. If you could teach me, I know I could win the scholarship." Stood up, he walked to the window and looked out at the dark street. His back was to Lily. She could not see his face. "I cannot teach you," he said. His voice was strange, tight. "I do not know how to play piano." "But Dad, everyone can learn. It is not that hard. And I really need help. The talent show is in 1 month, please." I said no. His voice was louder now, harder. "Pianos are expensive. Lessons are expensive. We do not have money for that kind of thing. You need to focus on school, on things that matter." "Music matters to me," Lily said. She felt tears forming in her eyes. "Why are you being like this? I am not asking for anything crazy. I just want you to help me." Turned around. His face was full of emotion, anger, sadness, and something else, something Lily had never seen before. "This conversation is over," he said. "Go to bed. We will not talk about this again." He walked past her and went into his bedroom. The door closed with a loud click. Lily stood alone in the living room, her heart breaking. She did not understand. Why was her father so angry? Why would he not help her? It was like the word piano had hurt him somehow, like it was a wound she did not know about. That night Lily could not sleep. She lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about her father's strange reaction. There was something he was not telling her, something big. She could feel it. The next day, while was at work, Lily decided to find answers. She started searching the apartment. She looked through drawers and cabinets. She checked under the beds and in the backs of closets. She did not know what she was looking for. She just knew something was hidden. Then she found it. In the back of her father's closet, behind some old boxes, there was a dusty suitcase. It was locked, but the lock was old and weak. Lily used a hairpin to open it. Her hands were shaking as she lifted the lid. Inside, she found a different world. There were photographs, dozens of them, pictures of her father sitting at beautiful grand pianos, pictures of him in concert halls, wearing fancy suits, taking bows in front of huge crowds, pictures of him holding awards and trophies. He looked young and happy in the photos. He looked like a completely different person. Lily picked up a concert program. On the cover was a picture of her father and a beautiful woman with dark hair. The woman was smiling. She looked familiar somehow. The program said, "And an evening of duets." That was her mother's name. Lily had never seen a picture of her mother before. Her father had never shown her any. But here she was, right in front of her, beautiful and smiling and sitting next to at a piano. There were newspaper clippings too, headlines that said, "Rising star stuns audiences," and "Piano genius wins international competition." There were reviews that called her father brilliant and gifted and extraordinary. Lily felt dizzy. Her whole world was turning upside down. Her father was not just a janitor. He was a famous pianist, a genius, and he had never told her. At the bottom of the suitcase, Lily found a small box. Inside was a wedding ring, and a note in her father's handwriting. "For my heart, my music, my everything, I will love you forever." Tears rolled down Lily's face. She understood now. Her mother had been a pianist too. They had played together. They had loved together. And then something terrible had happened. Something that broke her father so badly that he gave up everything. His music, his career, his dreams. Lily put everything back in the suitcase. She closed the closet door and waited. When came home that night, Lily was sitting at the kitchen table. The concert program was in front of her, the one with both her parents on the cover. Froze when he saw it. His face went white. "Where did you find that?" he whispered. In your closet, Lily said. Her voice was calm, but inside she was shaking. You lied to me, Dad. You told me you could not play piano, but you can. You were famous. You were brilliant, and Mom was too. Slowly sat down across from her. He looked like a man who had just seen a ghost. Lily, I can explain. Then explain, she said. Tell me the truth, all of it. And so he did. For the first time in 8 years, talked about his old life. He talked about learning piano as a child. He talked about music school and concert halls. He talked about meeting and falling in love. He talked about getting married and having Lily. And then, with tears streaming down his face, he talked about the accident, the phone call, the funeral, the day his whole world ended. After your mother died, I could not play anymore, said. His voice was broken. Every time I touched the keys, I saw her face. I heard her voice. The pain was too much, so I stopped. I gave up music. I gave up everything. Lily reached across the table and took her father's hand. I am sorry, Dad, she said softly. I did not know. I should have told you, said. I was trying to protect you. I thought if I buried the past, the pain would go away, but it never did. It is still there, every single day. They sat together in silence for a long time, father and daughter, both crying, both finally understanding each other. Finally, Lily spoke again. Dad, I love music. It is part of me. Maybe it is part of Mom that lives inside me. I do not want to give it up, and maybe you should not give it up either. Looked at his daughter, she had eyes, strength, spirit. And for the first time in 8 years, he wondered if maybe she was right. 2 weeks had passed since Lily discovered the truth about her father. Things were different now between them. They talked more. They laughed more. Even started telling her stories about her mother. Stories about how used to sing in the shower. How she loved eating ice cream in winter. How she would dance around the kitchen while cooking dinner. But still refused to play piano, and he still refused to teach Lily. I am not ready, he would say whenever she asked. Maybe someday, but not yet. Lily tried to be patient. She understood that her father was still hurting. 8 years was a long time, but some wounds never fully heal. She decided to give him space. She decided to wait. In the meantime, she kept practicing on her old keyboard. She signed up for the talent show and chose a simple piece to play. It was not perfect, but she was proud of it. She hoped it would be enough to win the scholarship. At Financial, things were getting busy. The big gala was happening in 3 days. Everyone was talking about it. The $300,000 piano, the famous musician who was coming to play, the important guests and investors who would be there. Tried to stay out of the way. He did his job quietly, mopping floors and emptying trash cans. He avoided the lobby where the piano sat. He did not want to look at it. He did not want to remember. But Victoria had not forgotten about him. She had not forgotten the night she caught him near her precious piano. Every time she saw in the hallways, she would give him a cold look, a look that said she remembered, a look that said she was watching. The night of the gala arrived. The building was transformed into a palace of lights and flowers. Crystal chandeliers sparkled overhead. Tables were covered with white cloth and silver dishes. Hundreds of guests filled the lobby, dressed in their finest clothes. It was the biggest event Financial had ever hosted. Was supposed to have the night off, but his supervisor called him at the last minute. One of the other janitors was sick. They needed to work, so he put on his uniform and took the bus to the office. When he arrived, he was told to stay in the back, clean the bathrooms, mop the service hallways, do not go near the party, do not let any guests see him. Did not mind. He preferred to be invisible. He did his work quietly, staying far away from the noise and the music and the laughter. In the lobby, Victoria was feeling very pleased with herself. The gala was a huge success. The investors were impressed. The board members were happy. And in just a few minutes, the star of the evening would perform. A world-famous pianist named Richard. He had won Grammy Awards. He had played for presidents and kings. and tonight he would play her piano. Victoria checked her watch. It was almost 9 o'clock, time for the performance. She looked toward the entrance, waiting for Richard to appear. Her assistant rushed over. The young woman looked nervous. Her face was pale. "Mrs.," she said, "we have a problem." Victoria's smile faded. "What kind of problem?" "Mister, he is not coming." "What do you mean he is not coming?" "He called 5 minutes ago. He is sick. Food poisoning. He cannot perform tonight." Victoria felt her heart stop. This could not be happening. Not tonight. Not in front of all these important people. The whole evening was planned around this performance. Without the pianist, the gala would be a disaster. "Find someone else," Victoria said through clenched teeth. "Anyone, someone who can play." "I already tried," the assistant said. "I called every pianist in the city. No one is available on such short notice." Victoria looked around the room. The guests were starting to gather near the piano. They were expecting a show. They were expecting to be amazed. What was she supposed to tell them? She walked to the front of the room and picked up a microphone. She forced a smile onto her face. "Ladies and," she said, "thank you all for coming tonight. As you know, we were supposed to have a special musical performance. Unfortunately, our scheduled artist has fallen ill and cannot be with us." A murmur of disappointment spread through the crowd. "However," Victoria continued, trying to sound confident, "we have this beautiful piano right here. If anyone in the audience would like to play, please feel free to come forward. Consider it an opportunity to test this magnificent instrument." For a moment, no one moved. Then a young man in a gray suit walked toward the piano. He was an accountant at the company. He had taken a few piano lessons as a child. "I will give it a try," he said with a nervous laugh. He sat down and started to play. It was not good. He hit wrong notes. His timing was off. The melody was choppy and uncertain. After 30 seconds, he stopped and shrugged. "Sorry," he said, "I am a bit rusty." A few people laughed politely, but the disappointment in the room was obvious. Another employee tried, then another. Each one was worse than the last. One woman only knew one song and she forgot half of it. One man played so loudly that people covered their ears. It was becoming embarrassing. Victoria's face was getting redder and redder. Her perfect gala was falling apart, all because of a sick pianist and a piano that no one knew how to play. In the back of the room, the young man who had mocked 2 weeks ago was standing with his friends. He had been drinking champagne all night, and he was feeling bold. He remembered the janitor he had laughed at, the man who had been staring at the piano like he wanted to touch it. "Hey," he said loudly, pointing toward the service hallway. "What about the janitor, the one who was drooling over the piano last time? Let him have a turn. Maybe he knows Twinkle Twinkle Little Star." His friends laughed. Other people nearby heard and started to chuckle. The joke spread through the room. "Yes, bring out the janitor," someone else shouted. "Let the cleaning man play." Victoria heard the commotion. She saw people pointing toward the back, and then she saw him, standing in the service doorway with his mop, looking at the crowd with surprised eyes. An idea formed in Victoria's mind, a cruel idea. The evening was already ruined. At least she could have some entertainment. Watching the janitor embarrass himself would give everyone a good laugh. It would lighten the mood. She walked toward, her heels clicking on the marble floor. The crowd parted to let her through. All eyes were on her. "Well, well," Victoria said loudly so everyone could hear. "It seems our guests want to see what you can do. What do you say, janitor? Would you like to play our $300,000 piano?" Shook his head. "No, ma'am, I do not think so." "Oh, come on," Victoria said. Her voice was sweet, but her eyes were cold. "You were so interested in it the other night. Here is your chance. Show us what you have got, unless you are afraid." The crowd was watching. Some were laughing, others looked uncomfortable, but everyone was staring at. "I really should get back to work," said quietly. "Nonsense," Victoria said. She grabbed his arm and started pulling him toward the piano. "Just play something simple. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, perhaps. Surely even a janitor knows that one." Stumbled forward. His heart was pounding. Memories were flooding his mind. The lights, the crowd, the piano. It was all too familiar. It was all too painful. And then he saw her. Standing at the back of the room near the entrance was a young girl with dark hair. She was wearing an old dress that was too big for her. She must have snuck in somehow. She was watching him with wide, hopeful eyes. Lily. She had come, she had followed him, she was here. Looked at his daughter. She gave him a small nod, a nod that said it was okay, a nod that said she believed in him. Something shifted inside, something old and powerful, something he thought was dead. He stopped resisting. He let Victoria lead him to the piano. The crowd was laughing and whispering. They expected him to fail. They expected him to be a joke. Sat down on the bench. He looked at the keys, white and black, perfect and waiting. He had not played in 8 years. 8 years of silence. 8 years of pain. 8 years of running away. But Lily was watching, and somewhere he knew was watching too. Took a deep breath. He placed his fingers on the keys. And the laughter stopped. The lobby of Financial had never been so quiet. 200 people stood frozen, waiting to see what the janitor would do. Some were smiling, expecting a disaster. Others felt uncomfortable, watching a poor man being humiliated for entertainment. Victoria stood near the piano with her arms crossed, a smug look on her face. Sat on the piano bench with his eyes closed. His fingers rested on the keys, but he did not move. For a long moment nothing happened. The silence stretched on. Someone in the crowd coughed. Someone else giggled nervously. "Having trouble?" Victoria asked sweetly. "Perhaps you need a music book, or maybe you forgot how Twinkle Twinkle goes." More laughter from the crowd. But did not hear them. He was somewhere else. He was back in time, back in a small apartment with an old piano, back with by his side her shoulder touching his, her perfume filling the air. He could hear her voice in his memory. "Play for me," she used to say. "Play like only you can." He opened his eyes. He looked across the room and found Lily, his daughter, his reason for living. She was watching him with tears already forming in her eyes. She nodded again, encouraging him. "Play, Dad," her eyes seemed to say. "Show them who you really are." Turned back to the piano. That was beautiful, perfect. The finest instrument he had ever touched. It deserved better than Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. It deserved something extraordinary. He chose Chopin, Ballade No. 1 in G minor, one of the most difficult and most beautiful pieces ever written for piano, a piece about love and loss and longing, a piece that told a story without words, a piece he had not played in 8 years. He was not sure he could still do it. His hands were rough from years of mopping floors. His fingers had not touched keys in so long, but when he pressed down on the first note, everything came flooding back. The music started softly, a simple melody, gentle and sad. The notes floated through the air like whispers. People in the crowd stopped smiling. They tilted their heads, confused. This was not what they expected. This was not a simple nursery rhyme. This was something else entirely. Let his fingers dance across the keys. The melody grew stronger, more complex. The notes came faster, weaving together in patterns that seemed impossible. His hands moved with a life of their own, remembered everything even after all these years. The music rose and fell like waves on the ocean. It cried and laughed and sang. The crowd stood in stunned silence. No one moved, no one breathed. They watched the janitor transform before their eyes. The tired man in the gray uniform was gone. In his place was someone else, someone powerful, someone magnificent. Victoria's face had changed completely. The smug smile was gone. Her mouth hung open. Her champagne glass tilted in her hand, the liquid nearly spilling onto the floor. She could not believe what she was seeing, what she was hearing. This was not possible. A janitor could not play like this. No one could play like this. Not even the famous pianist they had hired. This was beyond anything she had ever heard. Closed his eyes again as his fingers flew over the keys. He was not in the lobby anymore. He was in a concert hall they were young and in love. They were playing their favorite duet. He could feel her beside him, their shoulders touching, their music blending together into something magical. The piece built to its middle section. The melody became wild and passionate, poured all his emotion into the keys. 8 years of grief, 8 years of loneliness, 8 years of hiding and running and pretending. All of it came out through the music. Some people in the crowd started to cry. They did not know why. They did not understand what they were feeling. The music reached inside them and grabbed their hearts. It made them think of their own losses, their own loves, their own dreams. In the back of the room, Lily was sobbing openly. She had never heard her father play before. She had never imagined anything like this. The music was so beautiful it hurt. It was like hearing her mother's voice for the first time, like finally understanding who her father really was. The piece moved into its final section. The tempo quickened. The notes tumbled over each other like a waterfall. Hands were a blur. The piano sang with a voice that filled every corner of the room. Higher and higher the music climbed, faster and faster. And then the climax, a thundering crash of chords that shook the walls. The music reached its peak and held there, suspended in the air like a bird frozen in flight. Every heart in the room stopped beating. Brought the piece down slowly, gently. The thunder faded to rain. The rain faded to mist. The final notes were soft and sweet, like a lullaby, like a goodbye, like a prayer. He played the last chord and let it ring. The sound hung in the air for a long moment. Then it faded into silence. Lifted his hands from the keys. He opened his eyes. He took a deep breath. No one moved. For 3 full seconds, the lobby was completely still. 200 people stood frozen, unable to process what they had just witnessed. It was as if time itself had stopped. Then Lily started clapping. Her small hands made a lonely sound in the vast room, but then another person joined in, and another, and another. Within seconds, the entire lobby erupted in applause, not polite applause, not the kind you give at boring speeches. This was thunderous. This was overwhelming. This was the sound of 200 people who had just experienced something incredible. People were cheering. Some were wiping tears from their eyes. Others were shouting "Bravo" over and over. The applause went on, echoing off the marble walls and the tall ceilings. Sat at the piano, looking dazed. He was not used to this anymore. The lights, the noise, the attention. He had been invisible for so long. He had forgotten what it felt like to be seen. He stood up slowly. His legs were shaking. His heart was pounding. He looked at the crowd of people cheering for him, cheering for the janitor they had laughed at just minutes ago. And then he looked at Lily. His daughter was pushing through the crowd, running toward him. She reached him and threw her arms around him, hugging him tight. "Dad," she whispered through her tears, "that was beautiful. That was the most beautiful thing I have ever heard." Held his daughter close. He was crying too, tears he had held back for 8 years finally breaking free. "I played it for you," he said, "and for your mother. She taught me that piece. We used to play it together." Lily looked up at him. "She would be so proud of you." Nodded. "I think she would." The applause was still going. People were gathering around them, wanting to shake his hand, wanting to tell him how amazing he was, but barely noticed. He only saw his daughter. He only felt the weight of 8 years finally lifting from his shoulders. He had played again. After all this time, he had played again. And it had not destroyed him. It had not broken him. Instead, it had set him free. Across the room, Victoria stood alone. Her champagne glass had finally slipped from her hand, crashing to the floor and shattering into 100 pieces. She did not notice. She did not care. She was staring at the janitor she had tried to humiliate, the man she had thought was nothing. She had been wrong. She had been so very wrong. And somewhere in a place beyond sight and sound was smiling. Her husband had finally found his way back to the music, back to himself, back to the man she had always known he could be. The night was far from over. There were questions to be answered, secrets to be revealed, but for now, in this moment, was exactly where he belonged. At the piano with his daughter, finally at peace. The applause lasted for nearly 5 minutes. When it finally died down, the room was buzzing with whispers and questions. People looked at each other in confusion. How could a janitor play like that? Where did he learn? Who was this man really? Victoria pushed through the crowd, her face red with embarrassment and shock. She had wanted to humiliate the janitor. Instead, she had given him a stage to show everyone how wrong she had been. Her perfect gala had turned into something else entirely, something she did not plan or control. "Excuse me," she said, forcing her way to the front. "Excuse me, please." She stopped in front of who was still standing near the piano with Lily at his side. Victoria did not know what to say. Her sharp tongue, usually so ready with cruel words, had gone silent. That was quite impressive," she managed. "I had no idea you could play." Looked at her calmly. His eyes were red from crying, but his face was peaceful. The pain that had lived there for so long had faded, at least for tonight. "Thank you, ma'am," he said simply. "Who are you?" Victoria asked. "Really, who are you?" Before could answer, a voice called out from the crowd. "I know who he is." An older man in an expensive black suit pushed his way forward. He was one of the board members. His name was Robert, and he was one of the wealthiest investors in the company. He was also a great lover of classical music. Robert walked up to and stared at him with wide eyes. His hands were trembling. "I cannot believe it," Robert said. "It is really you. I saw you perform in Vienna 15 years ago. It was the greatest concert I have ever attended. I have your recordings. I have been listening to them for years." Whispers rippled through the crowd. People pulled out their phones. They started searching the name on the internet. Within seconds, gasps of surprise filled the room. "Oh my God," someone said. "He was a famous concert pianist. He won the International Chopin competition," another person read from their phone. "He performed at Carnegie Hall. He was nominated for a Grammy. It says he disappeared 8 years ago. No one knew what happened to him." The whispers grew louder. More people gathered around, staring at him like he was a ghost, a legend who had come back from the dead. Victoria's face had gone white. She looked like she was going to be sick. She had mocked him. She had called him dirty. She had told him to stay away from her piano because he was just a janitor. And all this time, he was one of the greatest pianists in the world. "I do not understand," she said, her voice shaky. "If you were a famous pianist, why are you working as a janitor? Why did you give it all up?" Was quiet for a moment. The question hurt even now. But he had spent too many years hiding, too many years lying. It was time for the truth. "My wife died 8 years ago," he said. His voice was steady but soft. She was a pianist too. We played together. We made music together. When I lost her, I lost everything. I could not play anymore. The music reminded me of her too much, so I walked away. I started a new life. I took care of my daughter, and I tried to forget." The room was completely silent. People who had been laughing at him an hour ago now had tears in their eyes. They finally understood. This man had not given up his gift because he was weak. He had given it up because of love, because of loss, because his heart had been broken so badly that music itself became painful. Robert stepped forward and put a hand on his shoulder. "I am so sorry," he said. "I had no idea. The music world has missed you. We all thought you just vanished. Some people said you died. Others said you moved to another country. No one knew the truth." "I did not want anyone to know," said. "I just wanted to be left alone, to raise my daughter to survive." Victoria finally found her voice again. She looked small now, ashamed. All her cruelty from the past weeks seemed to have caught up with her. "Mister," she said, "I want to apologize for everything. The things I said to you, the way I treated you. I was horrible. I judged you based on your job, your clothes, your position. I never stopped to see the person underneath. And I was wrong, so very wrong." Looked at her, he could have been angry. He could have said cruel things back to her. He would have been justified. But that was not who was. That was not who had taught him to be. "I accept your apology," he said, "but I did not play tonight for you. I did not play to prove anything to anyone in this room." "Then why did you play?" Victoria asked. Turned and put his arm around Lily. His daughter, who had been standing quietly beside him, looked up with questioning eyes. "I played for her," said. "My daughter, Lily. She is the reason I am still here. She is the reason I did not give up completely. And tonight she reminded me of something I had forgotten. That music is not just about the past. It is about the future, too." Lily started crying again. She hugged her father tight. "I love you, Dad," she whispered. "I love you too," sweetheart said, "more than all the music in the world." The crowd watched this moment between father and daughter. Many of them were parents themselves. They understood the love that flowed between and Lily. They understood that some things were more important than fame or money or success. Robert spoke up again. "I do not want to pressure you, but the world needs to hear you play again. Your talent is too great to hide. Please at least think about coming back." Smiled sadly. "I do not know if I am ready for that. Tonight was unexpected. I do not know if I can do it again." "You do not have to decide now," Robert said. "Just know that when you are ready, if you are ever ready, there will be a place for you. The doors are always open." Other guests came forward to shake hand. They told him how much his performance had moved them. They asked for his story, his autograph, his phone number. It was overwhelming for a man who had spent 8 years being invisible. Lily stayed close to her father, holding his hand. She was proud of him, so incredibly proud. She had always known he was special. Now the whole world knew it too. The young man who had first suggested that play Twinkle Twinkle was standing at the back of the room. His friends had abandoned him. No one was laughing at his jokes anymore. He looked ashamed and small, just like Victoria had looked. He tried to slip away without being noticed. But saw him, and their eyes met for just a moment. The young man expected anger or revenge, instead just nodded at him, a small nod that said, "I forgive you." The young man looked away quickly and hurried out of the building, but he would remember that nod for the rest of his life. It taught him something about grace, about forgiveness, about being a bigger person than those who hurt you. The gala continued, but it was different now. The energy in the room had changed. People were kinder to each other. They talked about their own dreams, their own losses, their own hopes. Story had touched something deep inside them. Victoria spent the rest of the evening in a corner, alone with her thoughts. She had built her whole identity around being powerful and successful. She had looked down on people she considered beneath her. But tonight, a janitor had shown her what real strength looked like. Real dignity, real grace. At midnight, and Lily finally left the building. They walked out into the cold night air, hand in hand. The stars were bright above them. The city was quiet. "Dad," Lily said as they waited for the bus. "Yes, sweetheart." "Are you going to start playing again, for real?" Thought about it, the question was not simple. There was still pain, there was still fear, but there was also something else now, something that felt like hope. "I do not know," he said honestly, "but I made you a promise and I am going to keep it. I am going to teach you piano, starting tomorrow." Lily's face lit up with joy. "Really? You mean it?" "I mean it," said. "Your mother would have wanted me to, and I think I want to as well. It is time to stop running. It is time to let the music back in." The bus arrived. They climbed on and found seats in the back. Through the window, they could see the financial building growing smaller in the distance. Behind them was the past, the pain, the secrets. Ahead of them was the future, new possibilities, new dreams. And somewhere in between was the music, waiting to be played again. Woke up the next morning to the sound of his phone ringing. He did not recognize the number. When he answered, a woman's voice spoke quickly. "Is this the pianist? I am calling from National Morning News. We would love to have you on our show to talk about your incredible story. Would you be available this week?" Before could respond, the call ended and another one started, then another, and another. His phone would not stop ringing. What did not know was that someone at the gala had recorded his performance. They had posted it online late at night. By morning, the video had spread across the entire internet. Millions of people had watched it. The story was everywhere. "Famous pianist found working as janitor," the headlines read. "Disappeared genius returns after 8 years. Widowed father's heartbreaking secret revealed." News reporters wanted interviews. Music magazines wanted to write stories. Television shows wanted him to perform. Record companies wanted to sign him. Concert halls wanted to book him. The entire world, it seemed, wanted a piece of. Lily came running into his room, her eyes wide with excitement. "Dad, have you seen the internet? You are famous again." Rubbed his eyes and tried to process what was happening. 12 hours ago, he was just a janitor. Now he was the most talked about person in the country. It was too much, too fast. "I need some time," he said. "I need to think." He turned off his phone and took Lily out for breakfast. They went to a small diner where no one knew their faces. They ordered pancakes and orange juice and sat in a quiet corner. "What are you going to do, Dad?" Lily asked. "Are you going to go back to performing?" Stirred his coffee slowly. "I do not know yet. It has been so long. I am not the same person I was 8 years ago. The music world has changed. I have changed." "But the way you played last night," Lily said. "It was amazing. Everyone thought so. Maybe this is your chance to start over." Smiled at his daughter. She was so young, so full of hope. She did not understand how complicated things could be. "Let me think about the future later," he said. "Right now I made you a promise. I said I would teach you piano. Are you still interested?" Lily nearly knocked over her juice. "Yes, of course. When can we start?" "How about today?" That afternoon, and Lily went to a music store downtown. They could not afford a real piano, but they found a good electronic keyboard that was much better than Lily's old broken one. Used his savings to buy it. It was the first time he had spent money on music in 8 years. They set up the keyboard in their small living room, pulled up 2 chairs and sat down next to his daughter. It felt strange. It felt wonderful. It felt like coming home. "Okay," said, "show me what you know." Lily played one of the songs she had learned from internet videos. It was a simple melody but could hear the talent underneath. The natural rhythm, the musical instinct. She had inherited its gift. "That is very good," said, "but let me show you something." He placed his fingers on the keys and played the same melody, but in his hands it sounded different, richer, deeper, more alive. "You are pressing too hard here," he explained, "and too soft here. Feel the music, do not just play the notes, let it breathe." Lily tried again. This time it was better, much better. "Yes," said, "just like that. You are a fast learner." They practiced for 3 hours that first day, taught Lily about technique and timing, about dynamics and expression. He told her stories about famous composers. He explained why certain pieces made people cry and others made them dance. He shared everything he knew, everything he had learned over a lifetime of music. And as he taught his daughter, something unexpected happened. The pain started to fade. Playing piano no longer made him think only of death. Now it made him think of her life, her smile, her laugh, her love of music. Teaching Lily was like keeping spirit alive. Days turned into weeks. Every evening after work and Lily would sit at the keyboard and practice. Lily improved quickly. She had natural talent, but more than that, she had passion. She loved every minute of it. Started turning on his phone again. He did not accept the interview requests or the concert invitations, but he did speak with Robert, the board member who had recognized him at the gala. Robert had a proposal. "I do not want to rush you," Robert said, "but I am on the board of the Henderson Academy of Arts, the same school that is offering the scholarship Lily wants to win. I pulled some strings. They would like to let Lily use one of their practice rooms, a real piano, whenever you want." Hesitated. He was not ready to step back into the music world, but this was for Lily, not for him. "Thank you," he said. "We will take you up on that offer." The first time Lily played on a real grand piano, she cried. The sound was so beautiful, so full, so different from the keyboard at home. Her small fingers danced across the ivory keys, making music that filled the entire room. Watched her with tears in his own eyes. She looked so much like. The way she tilted her head, the way she closed her eyes when she played, the way the music seemed to flow through her body. "Mom would have loved this," Lily said after she finished. "She would have," agreed. "She would have been so proud of you." The talent show was approaching. 2 weeks away, then 1 week, then 3 days. Lily practiced every spare moment. She had chosen a difficult piece for her performance, maybe too difficult, but believed in her. Then Lily had an idea. "Dad," she said one evening, "I found something in that old suitcase, the one with all your photos and programs." She pulled out an old videotape. It was dusty and faded, but the label was still readable. "And home recording 1998. "I converted it to a digital file," Lily said. "I watched it. It is you and Mom playing a duet. You are playing the main part and she is playing the accompaniment." Took the tape gently. He had forgotten this existed. He had recorded it just for fun, one lazy Sunday afternoon. They never thought anyone else would see it. "I have an idea," Lily said, "for the talent show. What if I played Mom's part, the accompaniment, and we play her recording on speakers so it sounds like we are performing together? You, me, and Mom, a family duet, even though she is not here anymore." Could not speak. The idea was beautiful, painful, perfect. "Are you sure?" he finally asked. "It will be very emotional." "I am sure," Lily said. "I want to play with my mom, even if it is just a recording. I want her to be part of this." They spent the next week preparing. Extracted piano part from the recording. He cleaned it up, removed the background noise, and made it clear and beautiful. Lily practiced her part over and over, learning to match her mother's tempo and style. The night of the talent show arrived. The school auditorium was packed with students, parents, and teachers. Lily was the last performer. She stood backstage, her hands shaking with nerves. Hugged her tight. "You are going to be amazing," he said. "Mom is with you, I am with you, you are not alone." Lily walked onto the stage. A grand piano sat in the center, lit by a single spotlight. She sat down and adjusted the bench. The audience was quiet. "My name is Lily," she said into the microphone. "Before I play, I want to tell you something. My mother was a pianist. She died when I was 5 years old. I never got to know her, but I found a recording of her playing piano. Tonight I am going to play a duet with my mom. She will be playing through the speakers, and I will be playing right here. This is for her." The recording started. His voice, preserved forever, filled the auditorium. Her piano notes were soft and gentle, an introduction to the main melody. Then Lily began to play. Mother and daughter, past and present, death and life. The music wove together into something magical. Lily played with skill beyond her years, matching her mother note for note. The audience sat frozen, tears streaming down their faces. In the front row, wept openly. He did not try to hide it. He watched his daughter play with his wife, separated by death but united by music. It was the most beautiful and heartbreaking thing he had ever experienced. When the piece ended, there was a moment of complete silence. Then the audience erupted. Everyone stood, everyone cheered, everyone cried. Lily stood and took a bow. She looked at her father in the front row. She smiled through her tears. She had done it, they had done it together, as a family. And somewhere in a place beyond sight and sound was playing along with them. Finally, after all these years, the family was making music together again. The judges did not need much time to decide. After all the performers had finished, the head judge walked onto the stage with an envelope in his hand. The auditorium buzzed with excited whispers. "We have seen many talented young people tonight," the judge said, "but one performance stood out above all the others. It was not just about technical skill. It was about heart, about love, about the power of music to connect us across time and distance." He opened the envelope and smiled. "The winner of this year's talent show and the full scholarship to the Henderson Academy of Arts is Lily." The audience erupted in cheers. Lily stood frozen for a moment, unable to believe what she was hearing. Then her legs started moving. She ran up to the stage, her heart pounding with joy. The judge handed her a beautiful certificate and shook her hand. "Congratulations, Lily. Your performance was extraordinary. We are proud to welcome you to our academy." "Thank you," Lily said, her voice shaking with emotion. "Thank you so much." She looked out at the audience and found her father's face, was standing and clapping, tears rolling down his cheeks. Lily held up her certificate and pointed at him. "This is for you, Dad," she called out. "And for Mom, we did it together." The applause grew even louder. Parents hugged their children. Teachers wiped their eyes. It was a night no one would ever forget. After the ceremony, and Lily walked out into the cool night air. The stars were bright above them, and the moon cast a gentle glow on the empty parking lot. "I am so proud of you," said, putting his arm around his daughter. "You worked so hard, you earned this." "I could not have done it without you," Lily said. "You taught me everything. You believed in me when I did not believe in myself." They stood together in comfortable silence, looking up at the sky. So much had changed in the past few weeks. So much had healed. "Dad," Lily said quietly, "what are you going to do now? Are you going to go back to performing?" Had been thinking about this question for weeks. He had received hundreds of invitations, concert halls, record labels, television shows. Everyone wanted the famous pianist who had been found working as a janitor. His story had touched people all over the world, but was not sure that was what he wanted. He had lived that life before. The traveling, the pressure, the spotlight. It had brought him joy, but it had also taken so much from him. He was not sure he wanted to go back. "I do not know yet," he said, "but I do know one thing. I do not want to be invisible anymore. I spent 8 years hiding from the world, hiding from music, hiding from myself. I do not want to do that anymore." The next morning received an unexpected phone call. It was Victoria. "Mister," she said, her voice was different now, humble, nervous. "I hope I am not bothering you. I wanted to speak with you about something important. Could you come to my office this afternoon?" Was surprised. He had not heard from Victoria since the gala. He wondered what she could possibly want. "I will be there," he said. That afternoon, walked into Financial for the first time as a guest, not as a janitor. The security guards looked at him with wide eyes. The employees whispered and pointed. Everyone knew who he was now. Victoria was waiting for him in her office. She stood up when he entered and gestured to a comfortable chair. "Please sit down," she said. "Thank you for coming." Sat and waited. Victoria seemed nervous, which was strange for a woman who was usually so confident and cold. "I have been thinking a lot since the gala," Victoria said. "About who I am, about how I treat people. I was cruel to you, mister. I judged you based on your job title. I looked down on you because you mopped floors, and I was completely wrong." She paused and took a deep breath. I want to do something to make up for it. Not just to apologize, but to actually do some good in the world. I have been meeting with my board of directors, including Robert. We have decided to start a new program. A music education program for children who cannot afford lessons. Children from poor families, children in foster care, children who would never have a chance to learn music without help. Sat forward, interested. We want to fund the program fully, Victoria continued. We will rent a space, buy instruments, hire teachers. We want to give hundreds of children the opportunity to discover music. The same opportunity you had when you were young. That sounds wonderful, said, but why are you telling me this? Victoria smiled. For the first time it was a real smile, not cold or fake. Because we want you to run it, she said. We want you to be the director of the program. You would not have to perform or be famous. You would just teach. Share your gift with children who need it. Make a difference in their lives. Was speechless. This was the last thing he had expected. I know it is not as glamorous as being a concert pianist, Victoria said, but I think it might be more important. What do you say? Thought about it. He thought about his own childhood, sitting at that old broken piano his mother had bought. He thought about all the teachers who had believed in him, who had helped him grow. He thought about who had loved teaching more than performing, who had always said that sharing music with children was the greatest gift. I have one condition, said. Name it. The program has to be named after my wife, the Music Foundation. She would have wanted this. She dedicated her life to teaching children. Victoria nodded without hesitation. Done. The Music Foundation it is. They shook hands. For the first time saw Victoria as a human being, not a villain. People could change. People could grow. People could learn from their mistakes. 3 months later, the Music Foundation opened its doors. The building was in a poor neighborhood, surrounded by rundown apartments and empty lots, but inside it was beautiful. Bright colors painted the walls. New pianos filled the practice rooms. Donated instruments lined the shelves. On opening day, 50 children came through the doors. They were black and white, Asian and Latino. Some were shy. Some were loud. Some had never seen a piano before, but all of them had one thing in common. They wanted to learn. Stood in front of them, wearing a simple shirt and jeans. Lily stood beside him, ready to help as a junior instructor. Welcome to the Music Foundation, said. My name is, and I am going to teach you how to play music. A small boy in the front row raised his hand. Are you really famous? My mom said you used to be a famous piano player. Smiled. I used to be, but that was a long time ago. Now I am something better. I am a teacher. He sat down at the grand piano in the center of the room. The children gathered around, their eyes wide with curiosity. Let me play something for you, said. This is the first song I ever learned. It is very simple, but sometimes the simple things are the most beautiful. He placed his fingers on the keys, and then, for the first time in many years, played Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. The children laughed and clapped. Some of them sang along. The melody filled the room, simple and pure and full of joy. Lily watched her father with a huge smile on her face. He looked happy, truly happy. The sadness that had lived in his eyes for so long was finally gone. When the song ended, a little girl tugged on sleeve. Can you teach me to play that? She asked. Looked at her. She had big brown eyes and messy pigtails. She reminded him of Lily at that age. She reminded him of all the children who had ever dreamed of making music. Of course I can, he said. That is why I am here. He helped her sit at the piano and showed her where to put her fingers. She pressed down on a key and laughed at the sound it made. Looked around the room, at all the children waiting for their turn, at Lily helping a nervous boy find middle C at the photos on the wall, smiling down at everyone. He had lost so much, his wife, his career, 8 years of his life, but somehow he had found something new, something better, a purpose, a family, a future. The music had come back, not in the way he expected, not in the concert halls or the recording studios, but here, in this little building in a poor neighborhood, surrounded by children who just wanted to learn. Would have loved this. She would have loved every single moment. Closed his eyes and let the sounds wash over him, the children practicing, the notes ringing out, the laughter and the joy. He was finally home. And this time, he was never going to leave.